my book Musings, where I show you the books that I got from the library, talk about what I read last week, and talk about what I am hoping and dreaming that I will be reading this upcoming week. Typically, I have been filming these in the car while I'm sitting in the library parking lot, but I lost daylight. I went to the library a lot later today. I was just feeling very fatigued today. So it was so nice because it was a Saturday. I was able to treat myself to just read in bed. And my husband is so kind and just is very productive and helps keep our household organized, and then even made me lunch and brought it in bed. So I felt very cared for. And I did eventually get to the library, and I will show you those, but I did want to talk about a couple things before that. First of all, I went ahead and ordered a DVD of Remember the Night. I'm going to scooch over a little bit, actually, so when I put images, you can see a bigger picture. But Remember the Night has become one of my absolute favorite Christmas movies. And it is about this couple that, they aren't a couple, but it's a man and a woman who are kind of thrown together last minute for Christmas, and she ends up going home with him for the holidays to be with his family, and he just has a really warm and loving household. And there's this very quiet and intimate feel to this movie. And to me, it's just has become an all-time favorite Christmas movie. So I'm forever grateful to Melissa, my friend Melissa, for telling me about it. And I think the first year that I watched it, ended up being, I watched it pretty late on Christmas Eve. I had to stay up and maybe wrap presents, I'm not sure. But now I really love that. The staying up and when the house is quiet, and it's the magic of Christmas Eve. And I find I actually tend to like Christmas Eve better than Christmas Day. The anticipation and just the sense of what is coming. I find I love it. And so I typically like to go to bed early. I'm a person, it's not fun for me to stay up late, but Christmas Eve, more than New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve is one of those exceptions, and I love to stay up and when the house is quiet and calm, and watch this movie and have the Christmas tree lights on, and I just love it. So it's become harder and harder each year. Now I think there's only 2 copies within the library system that I'm a part of, and I always am a little bit nervous. Both copies were checked out right now, and I thought, will they not be back, in time? And then there is one place that I could stream it, but then I just felt like it's getting harder to access each year, and it seemed worthy of being in the home library. So if you have not seen Remember the Night, I definitely would check it out. Then my friend Joe Smith, who I do not deserve. Joe, I'm going to show the beautiful, beautiful gifts that you sent. So Joe sent some goodies that the men in my life will enjoy, and there are lots of British goodies, and it will be so much fun for them. And then I noticed in the package there was something book-shaped when I opened this mail from her. And here we have, folks, 2 beautiful in print Charlotte Mary Yonge books. I honestly was speechless when I saw. I said, what? I just said what over and over again, because I couldn't believe Joe's generosity. And I love that on the front of Charlotte Mary Yonge's books, there's always that CMY logo. I couldn't believe Joe sent these to me, and I started reading both of them this month. There is a group of people reading Charlotte Mary Yonge's The Christmas Mummers. It's happening with the Dickens in December read along on Instagram, but also my friend Daryl organized a group read. And I struggle, I only have it as a PDF. I really struggle to read a PDF. I've gotten so spoiled by Kindle formatting. So I'm not sure if I'm going to bring myself to read the PDF. But Daryl said he finished it today, and that seems like it means it was pretty gripping and interesting. So I might just get over myself and go ahead and read it. And then The Heir of Redclyffe. I am doing a group read of that this month, and it is glorious. I will speak more on that soon. But I had no business starting these. Did I? No, I did not. But I did. I've started both of them unintentionally. I just wanted to sample each of them because they're not my typical Charlotte Mary Yonge type fare. And then I just loved them both as soon as I started them. So that makes me very excited. Now one is a nonfiction and one is a historical fiction. I have to say that I have been very intimidated by both her nonfiction and historical fiction, and this is encouraging me. Now, I read The Little Duke, which is a children's historical fiction by Charlotte Mary Yonge, and that one I really enjoyed. But I thought, well, it's it's a children's book, so it felt accessible, and I just realized, am I crooked? I think I might be crooked. I don't know if I am. Anyhow, so I thought, well, that's a children's, so that's why it felt accessible. Well, so here we are. The historical fiction is called A Chaplet of Pearls, and it does include a few illustrations, and this edition was gifted to someone Christmas 1898. Isn't that wild? Oh yes, here we are. So this takes place during when the Huguenots were in France and were persecuted, and then it's going to be very harrowing because it does involve the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, and then overarching in that is a love story. So I'm just thinking the other Victorian novels that fall under that category of having it being a historical setting and having an overarching love story is the other one that I have read is The Cloister and the Hearth, and it's become an all-time favorite book. So I just wanted to sample it and immediately fell right in with the writing style. What's interesting is her style in this and in The Little Duke seems very different. It's like she's doing a completely different thing than she does with her domestic realism. And in her domestic realism, it's such a intimate character study. And in this, it seems like she kind of treads the line balancing between plot and characterization, which is really exciting to me because some of the domestic realism that she writes, it's a little bit too quiet, and this might just be one that I could really fall in love with. So I've just read the first few chapters. I'm gonna really take my time with this, and yeah, I'm only 32 pages into this, but I will say the print is kind of small, so I think I'm probably in another edition I'd be more than 32 pages. So it is about 363 pages long, and then when I looked on Goodreads, there's some listed as 500 pages long. So anyhow, all to say that I'm very excited about this. And there's a couple that at the very beginning, they are betrothed when they are children. And so they live together for several years. Their families know each other, and they're betrothed, and but they bicker a lot. And so it's just so funny to think about this little bride and groom, but they're just living as regular children. So anyhow, then when our main character, when he's British and he is Huguenot, she's or he would say then that if he's British, he wouldn't say he's Huguenot, but his family are Protestant, and then she is French and Catholic. So he has decided he wants to break off the betrothal. They don't see each other for like a decade, and he wants to break off the betrothal, but when he sees her, she is stunningly beautiful and has such a charming way about her, and just he is absolutely smitten when he sees her again as a woman. So I think it's going to be kind of the lengths that you will go to for the love of your life, and I'm really excited to continue. So Joe, I'm forever grateful because I was spending a long time, I was just planning on avoiding Charlotte Mary Yonge's historical fiction for a long time because I thought it would just be too full on. So it's interesting because it seems like her historical fiction is totally my style. And then the other book that Joe sent was An Old Woman's Outlook, And I think there is a slightly longer title. So this was gifted to someone in Christmas 1944, which is just, I can't believe it. It's just so cool. Yes, An Old Woman's Outlook in a Hampshire Village. Now, I'm so excited about this one because I really enjoyed Mary Russell's Our Village and Country Stories, which are books about quaint village life, and they're just little instances. And Miss Reed's books are like that. And this is even quieter than that. But the writing is so beautiful and so engaging that it doesn't feel too quiet for me. There's one chapter for each month of the year, and she's telling you about the wildlife, kind of what changes with it then, and if there are any church holidays and how people celebrate them in that month. But so that could be, maybe not necessarily all that interesting, but in the way that she writes it, it's so enjoyable. My plan is to read one chapter each month, but I wanted to be done with it by the time Victober came, so I went ahead and I read and loved the November chapter, and this month I will read the December chapter as well. And then probably in September, I'll read the September and October chapter. However, that being said, these kind of year-long read-throughs of books, I am historically really bad at following through with that. So I could just end up in the summer, I just read, many, many chapters. I don't know what I'll do, but so far I am just very excited. So this was definitely a highlight of my week, and I have such a good feeling about A Chaplet of Pearls, and reading The Cloister and the Hearth 2 years ago. I'm hungering for more books like that. So I definitely am looking forward to investigating more of Charlotte Mary Yonge's historical fiction, and then also reading more of W.H. Ainsworth's work after loving his The Tower of London that I read during Victober. Okay. This week, I did end up finishing Thrush Green by Miss Reed. I just completely adore her writing, and I loved, she is really lovely at presenting characters from all ages. So she has children that are featured as characters, she has teenagers, she has new adults, she has parents of young children, she has parents of teenagers, parents of children that have, she has empty nesters, and she has just older folks. And I love, it's so grounding to read about characters from all walks of life, and to be reminded that everything in life is a season. And so to try to kind of find the blessings that you can within each season, because there's wonderful things and hard things about each season. So I find her book so grounding, and I'm very much looking forward to reading Winter in Thrush Green. I don't know when I will do that. It's possible I could nudge that to January, but I really in recent years have wanted to celebrate all of Christmastide, and so celebrate, through the full 12 days of Christmas. We do our Epiphany feast, and so I want to keep that Christmas spirit going. And yes, I think that's, I don't know when I'll read it, but it's going to happen. Then I have to say that Midnight on the River Grey, the Victorian historical romantic mystery that I started last week, I gave this 5 stars. I loved her writing, and so this will definitely not be my last book by her. And she has several, I think the library has all of her books that are out, and I'm very excited to continue. I audibly gasped at one part in the book, and Peter said, "What?" He heard me gasp, and I could not, it was so gripping. And so in case you missed last week's video, there is our main character whose name already escapes me. I'm so bad with remembering character names. But anyhow, and she has a chaperone, and a few months back her brother was murdered, and from everything it looks like her legal guardian is the one that murdered her brother, and he fell to his death. And she is living in a townhouse provided for her by said guardian, who is the accused murderer. And he ends up coming to town without warning, and he says, "I'm selling the townhouse. You're going to come back to the manor with me, and I'll find other living arrangements for you eventually. So she goes to this manor, and there are mysterious happenings. It's very ominous feeling, but she very soon starts to have feelings for said guardian. And it just, to me, it was exactly what I was hoping it would be. It struck the perfect balance and blend between romance, mystery, atmosphere, and there was also a lot of warmth at the same time. So it was just this really beautiful mixture, and it was great. So that was a really, really fun book to read. And it was one I think I just found on a whim on the library website maybe, and I just thought, I love that cover. I want to read that book. And then when I read about what it was about, I thought, yes, I'm very interested in it. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm reading The Heir of Redclyffe with friends, and this is just, to me, I think it's starting to be up there with Pride and Prejudice and Wives and Daughters for how much I love it. To me, a favorite book has to be rereadable because I am such a rereader. I find that it's some of the most restful reading that I can do is rereading and being back in a story. It's so lovely to come into the story having established who everyone is, and so you can kind of sit back and take in more outer layers of the story and dive deeper at the same time. And this is just a glorious, glorious book about a kind of besmirched family legacy, and then several generations down the road, people trying to mend the barriers that are there between certain family members. And it is quiet. So I think not everybody in the group is enjoying how lacking in plot it is. It does end up picking up later on, but it's a vibe. It's very distinct. But I love it. So I just wanted to read to you from the beginning of chapter 7. It says, "It was a glorious day in June, the sky of pure, deep, dazzling blue. The sunshine glowing with brightness, but with cheerful freshness in the air that took away all sultriness. The sun tending westward in his long day's career and casting welcome shadows from the tall firs and horse chestnuts that shaded the lawn. A long rank of haymakers, men and women, proceeded with their rakes, the white shirt sleeves, straw bonnets, and ruddy faces, radiant in the bath of sunshine, while in the shady end of the field were idler haymakers amongst the fragrant piles. Charles half lying on the grass, with his back against a tall haycock, Mrs. Edmonston sitting on another, book in hand, Laura sketching the busy scene, the sun glancing through the checkered shade on her glossy curls. Philip stretched out at full length, hat and necktie off, luxuriating in the cool repose after a dusty walk from Broadstone, and a little way off, Amabel and Charlotte pretending to make hay, but really building nests with it, throwing at it at each other, and playing as heartily as the heat would allow." Doesn't it just throw you into that scene? You're right there with those characters. Also, I never knew that Amy, the longer form of that, is Amabel. That really just amused me the first time I read this. And so, yes, I'm just soaking this up. And I was relieved because, sometimes you build up books in your mind and then your memory built them up as you liking them more than you actually did. This is really holding up. And it's so cozy for wintertime. And then the majority of today, what I have been reading is Deception on His Mind by Elizabeth George. And this is so gripping. It is totally not my normal kind of mystery. There is a lot of, what do I want to say? Just selfish behavior that you see characters, and it's very much a examining human nature and the lengths that people will go to deceive, and I just find Elizabeth George's writing so captivating. So it's definitely more hard-hitting than my typical kind of mystery, but I find that I want to untangle the web and see how everything is connected. And right now I have no guesses as to who done it. And her books are more a why done it, and that's why I read them, at least. And right now I'm on 413, and there's there's 616 pages. So I would love to finish it this weekend. We shall see if I do. But this is really heavy, so I have mostly been reading on my Kindle with this one. And then I will be continuing on with Flame of Sevenwaters. I'm really enjoying this. Taking it slow still. But I do need to check if it can be renewed another time, because I think this next week will be, I've had it 3 weeks. So I definitely don't want to lose this before, because I will prioritize this if it's going to be expiring. And then I did go ahead and start the next Maisie Dobbs audiobook, so The American Agent. And there is a woman she's an American who I'm pretty sure she was living over in England, and World War II is still very much at play, and she was found dead. This American woman who Maisie knew, who they were working on ambulance runs together. And so Maisie is going to investigate that, and we'll see what happens with it. The Maisie Dobbs books, I've said before, they have an ache to them, as they should, capturing the events that they do. And I just, I find I just love that series, and just historical mysteries I really, really get fully wrapped up in. Okay, then this is in my cozy, quiet, domestic category. I started Penny Plain. So this beautiful, beautiful copy, who is the press that puts it out? Noggin Nose Press. So Noggin Nose Press put this out. Now, the only thing I feel conflicted about is they put her actual name, which is Anna Masterton Buchan, and O. Douglas was her pen name. And I think if she chose it as her pen name, I think it's appropriate to keep it there. But they decided to do her given name. And so last December I read Taken by Hand by O. Douglas after Arpita from Bag Full of Books, which is an Instagram account that if you love modern classics and just coziness, she loves Miss Reed. Also, I will link her down below. And Christmas is a glorious, glorious time of the year to be following Arpita. So she recommended O. Douglas, and I read Taken by Hand, and I completely fell in love with it. Then in the winter, I did try another one, and I couldn't tell if I wasn't in the mood for it or that book I wasn't into, but I wanted to try another one, and when I saw this beautiful copy, I did treat myself to this. And it is a Cinderella type story. There's a girl she takes care of her two brothers, Jean Jardine, and Jean, kind of a more unassuming name. And she lives in a homey cottage called The Riggs, and she is just a very endearing character. So the plot is still very much being set up as I'm reading this. There's a couple new people who have come to town, and one woman who's just decided now that she's 40, she's not married and her life isn't amounting to anything. She needed to change things and go live in Scotland. And so she picked to go live in this little village of Priorsford where Jean lives. And then there is another character who is an older man who he heard about Priorsford from a friend that he knew a long time ago. And so he wants to go see Priorsford, and he has a lot of money. He's very comfortably off financially. And so he decides the first person who does something nice for him, he is going to bequeath his money to them before he dies. And I just think it's going to be a lovely, lovely, like I said, Cinderella type story. And I did note down a couple things, but it's such a beautiful copy. I just tried to make very subtle notings. I have to say, too, that O. Douglas is very much an author for book lovers. So she references a lot of fictional characters, and there's always an inscription at the beginning of each chapter. And I love this quote. "You know the people," said Pamela, "who say, 'Of course I love reading, but I've no time, alas,' as if everyone who loves reading doesn't make time." And I think that's true, when people say, "Oh, I wish I had time to read." But I think you just make time for what you love. Some people genuinely don't have the time, but I think a lot of us, we find the time, we make the time. Another thing that I love about O. Douglas's writing is that she's so good at painting you a picture of the settings that the characters live in. So all of those endless domestic details, she loves sprinkling those in, and I just eat it all up. So yeah, this is delightful. And I do know if you read ebooks, this book is on Project Gutenberg. And what's really neat is I went ahead and I did a word search on the Project Gutenberg book and to see if Christmas was mentioned, and there are several chapters that take place at Christmas. So that's why I saved this for December. And I will show you what I got from the library. I heard recommended several times Lynn Austen's Christmassy books. And this is a nostalgic and charming tale that evokes the wonder and miracle of Christmas. So it's called The Wish Book Christmas. I think it takes place in the 1950s. Oh, 1951. And Audrey and Eve, who are friends, realize they want to teach their children the true meaning of Christmas. So we'll see if I get on with Lynn Austen's writing. She has another Christmassy one. I went ahead and put that on hold. Now, the last thing, and that is incredibly exciting, I got Henry V, the nonfiction biography that I had been so wanting to read. And I was regretting not putting a copy on sooner. So I was really delighted I was able to get the last copy that isn't checked out. And I'm so excited. And I just keep hearing wonderful things about Dan Jones. And I will link down below. My friend Nada was telling me there's a series of documentaries about the Plantagenets that are really interesting. And I think it's something that maybe David and I could watch together. We struggle to find things that we both enjoy watching, kind of in the Venn diagram of our interests. And documentaries can sometimes be that. He's typically more a nature documentary guy, but we'll see. Maybe this will get him hooked. And it's just supposed to be very dramatic and eventful. Yes, so looking forward to another week of reading. I do want to have kind of more heavy on the Christmas. So after I finish Deception on His Mind, I think I will be diving into some Christmas romances that I have, typically the historical ones, or what I'm thinking of. Thank you for watching. I hope that you have a great week and you're not feeling too overwhelmed by Christmas preparations, and you're just feeling great about the season and festive if you celebrate Christmas, and are just enjoying it as works for you. And I hope that you are reading some things that are brightening your day and that have some beauty in them, and that you can think about and ponder and broaden your horizons. And I will be back with another video soon. Bye!